Hello there. Siro 360 was at Accra, the largest gathering of stakeholders and leaders in the education industry. We had the opportunity to talk to some of the guests at the event about some of the problems in our education system and some of the solutions we can implement to ensure quality education in Africa.
So my name is Muniratu Issifu, and I work with the Vaki Foundation in Ghana. And the Vaki Foundation implements a number of projects in Ghana. One of them is Making Ghanaian Girls Great. Making Ghanaian Girls Great is an interactive, we use an interactive distance learning model to reach out to deprived schools in Ghana. It's a girls project which is being funded by DFID under its Girls Education Challenge Fund. So what we do is to set up studios in our head office in Accra, and then we connect deprived schools that we work with to the studio. So each day, the schools are able to log in and then have access to good quality lessons in maths and English. So imagine sitting in a classroom about 7 hours drive from Accra, and then observing a teacher on a wall, a projection, a teacher who is 7 hours away from you being projected onto a wall, who is teaching you maths and then English. So we are using this model to address a number of barriers, to take care of the absence of teachers in our classrooms and sometimes the absence of professional teachers in our classrooms. And we know in Ghana, a number of teachers refuse postings to very deprived areas. So with this kind of model, you're able to place the very well-trained teachers in a studio based in the capital or wherever, and then you link them up to schools that are in very deprived areas. So every day when they come to school, they are assured of a lesson, a good lesson in maths and then English. So all they need to do is to log in. They are given access codes that they use to log in, and they're able to have access to the lessons. It's a live session and then very interactive. So they're able to ask questions to the teacher, and the teacher is able to respond to them. So for each classroom, to enable this to happen, the classroom needs to be set up. So each classroom is provided with a computer, which is like a monitor system unit, and then a projector, and then a microphone. Yes, and then to enable us also do this, we use solar so that we don't have to rely on the national grid. We have the sun, which is for free. So we set up each classroom, providing them with a solar system that enables them to log in for lessons every day. Yes, it's a project. We are doing this, as I mentioned earlier on. We are being funded by DFID to do this. So for the schools are government schools, yes, and they don't have to pay anything to have access to these lessons. The only thing is we had a criteria for selecting the schools and also the people to benefit from this. So we selected schools that need this most, and within each school also we take care of people who need the intervention most. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier on, the absence of teachers, in terms of we have an inadequate number of teachers. And then two, sometimes when you even do have the teachers, we have a huge rate of teacher absenteeism in Ghana. And then three, having teachers who do not have the level of skill you need to be able to impact on the children. So with these issues, what we are seeking to do is to use this to address these barriers that I've mentioned, so that for each day, what happens is in most schools, the children even are discouraged to come to school, because if you know you would come to school and, for instance, there wouldn't be a teacher in the classroom to teach you, what would be the point in coming? So it's supposed to encourage them to come to school because they know for each day there's somebody available to support them. I think we need to address the issue of teachers. Our teachers need to have the right capacity and motivation to be able to stay in the classrooms and then teach. And I think also that we need to have the right learning materials to support this. And when I say learning materials, I don't necessarily mean very expensive resources. It could be just trying to teach them to be able to make use of what they have. So if a teacher is teaching and you need the children to count, even picking stones or sticks, which we all did when we were in school, is okay if you can't find all these fancy TLMs that they use in schools. So just teaching them to be able to make use of their own environment and then use what is available to be able to use in their classrooms. I think that is very key. And then getting the children to have the teachers to supporting them to have the right capacity, which means providing in-service training for them, where you expose them to some of the best practices of teaching in a way that everyone is taken care of in their lessons. So one is we realized when we started that there's even more demand for this than maybe we even thought. But for every organization, you can only do up to a certain level. So there's still a lot of room for scaling up. So we think that is an area that needs to be looked at. There are still schools that are very deprived. There are still schools that need this kind of intervention to make things work for them. What we are trying to do now is to look at, well, everyone is talking about scaling up. So what we are trying to do, we use our lessons as a way of modeling all the best practices that you can think of. So it serves as capacity building also for teachers. But what we aim to do in the near future also is to focus more on the teachers, which would mean doing things like working with colleges of education to just ensure that we are providing the support that our teachers need to be able to function very well in the classrooms. So in the schools, as I mentioned, this is also supposed to be a learning or capacity building process for existing teachers in the school. So when we are having our sessions, there's usually a facilitator in the classroom who supports in the classroom management. Yes. And then in each classroom, as we all know, you have class prefects and all that. And they, over the years, have also built their capacities have been built through this process. There are a number of them who are able to log in for lessons themselves, even without the teacher. So there's still somebody to help in facilitating all this to make the interaction work well. We make sure we select teachers who are able to speak the dominant local languages in those areas. So, you know, in Ghana, we have recognized or approved languages, local languages for every district. So our teachers are able to speak the approved languages for those districts. So when they do their delivery, they use local language to explain and then break down concepts for people to understand better. Use satellites to connect the classrooms to the studio. And from our experience so far, that has worked very well.